Dr. Lillian Coley, and I'm here back to talk to you about everything. It's been a good ride thus far. I'm grateful and thankful to be here on today. As many of you know, we started our GoFundMe account, and the GoFundMe account was about the legal fees and things that we need, legal and attorney fees, and then also new legislation, because we have some things that are coming up where we are able to push this legislation even the more on our national level. But the GoFundMe account is coming along very well, everybody. I just hope and pray that you guys could give to the fund to help us help other people with the things that we have been, I guess, impacted with regarding our legal story. Okay, because the keeping it real with Dr. Lil is exactly what it says. And in this regard, it's about a legal journey for us. Nonetheless, this GoFundMe account, and I'll put that information in the description, is to do just that. And I'm hoping that other people out there who have been called to do whatever God has called them to do regarding a journey, a task, a destiny, a mission, if you will, that they will do it and they will carry it out all the way. So the GoFundMe account is about all the things that we've been through with our legal debacle. It just started out in Philadelphia for my goddaughter and ended up wherever it's going to end up at. So right now, we I think the last time I was here, I did tell you guys the stuff that was going on, and it makes no sense more than it did back then. But nonetheless, we're going through the legal process, and the legal process, in some regards, may be public, and it will be public because of the nature of the case and the dynamics of it. Because when you have things that happen, the public wants to know. You can't suppress certain things, particularly when they always talk about anything that's dealing with something that's crime or fraud or corruption or anything of that thing nature, and then some. You don't have it. Now, there are times I think the courtroom can be closed in some regards, but so forth and so on. But in our case, I'm hoping that our information that we need to have before the public will be before the public, and they will be able to understand what is going on, because the public has a right to know when the public courts are doing certain things that are not what they're supposed to be doing. That's the whole big thing here. The courts can do the best they can. We know they're not God. They're human beings, and we want them to carry out the law. That's all. We want the law, the law, the law. So for our case, we have the stuff going on in California. Y'all remember that? And then we have stuff that's going on now newly in New Jersey, but we're not sure what the Jersey thing gonna look like, because that's where it all began for at least me anyway. But there's a lot of little other things happening, y'all. And just stay tuned. Y'all got to pay attention, because sometimes God has to show you better than he can tell you. And I already told you guys over and over again, the God of the universe will win over the God of money. All the things that people have tried and done and done and tried. And now I guess they just figured that was the right way to do it. Well, I won't say it won't win, it won't win, right? God's gonna show you. So our GoFundMe, our legal matter, all those things are marching on. If you are someone out there who is familiar with a form called CN 11487, this is considered an application for modification of a court order that's usually used in from the federal program, UFISA Act. The UFISA Act deals with the Uniform Interstate Support Act that people adopt or states adopt around the country. There's a form that is used, CN 11484, I think it's 487. If you have information and know about that form, please contact us. There's some people asking us some questions about it, some things about it, and on our legal stuff. And we want to make sure that what we're telling them is correct. And then there's some things that we had to deal with it on that same form. And our stuff, it was pretty much straightforward. It tells you it's a federal program and what are the restrictions of not being able to use it and so forth and so on. But it does vary from state to state. Oh, yeah. So I just wanted to say something about some people were asking about why people put initials and so forth and so on. I don't put initials on my name for in pleadings or any kind of documents. I can say who I am. So I put my full name, but some people might want to put their name in there because they don't want to be disclosed, obviously. And that's a way that some states, like New Jersey, will redact your name. So that's why you'll see and saw some of those things for people who saw stuff online. That was the other thing too. I wanted to make it very clear that our cases, starting from Philadelphia to New Jersey, now Philadelphia is a completely open public case. And as I told you before, when we did start the Jersey situation, those cases were intertwined by the attorneys because you had an interstate situation going on with a child coming from one state to another. So those files were intertwined. So the notion that some of the files or all of the files in New Jersey is sealed is really ludicrous, right? So at the end of the day, for those of us who's been around with this, we understand what that is. The order was basically to the public saying you can't come to the court and get the files. And the way most of these files or stuff is done, particularly especially in Philadelphia, you just have to have a party to help you get the files if you're going to get the files if you're not a party of interest and you don't have the files. But once you do have the files and the files are out there, that's it. Everything for our case as well, the main files are in the public domain, right? The only thing the court would have any jurisdiction over or power over would kind of be the transcript. And what people do with that, they just redact it. They just take the person's name out and you read everything else. So we were always told if you needed to take the minor out, which would be the child, you would redact that child's name out and that kind of thing. So other than that, there's no big deal. Well, my name is never going to be redacted. Rymir's name is going to be never redacted because he's grown, his mother and all that kind of stuff. So when you see stuff and you see certain initials, that's because that person might have chose to do that. And it's not necessarily something you have to do. So yeah, and then there was a circumstance and situation, I'm gonna close on this, where Rymir had a family member, a family member, a what do you call a favor, and apparently a girlfriend of one of the family members was involved in this situation where they may have done something, it appears, that was unlawful. And then my godson was in the area, or he was what they call the Uber or something to that effect. This is what my understanding is. I'm not saying I'm testifying, I'm not saying that kind of stuff. But what I understand the story to be. And the person did something unlawful. And when they did something unlawful, they were asked, where'd you get this from? Where did you do it? And that my godson's name and other people's names were put out there. And that's how he got kind of in debacle. We're confident everything's going to go fine. Everybody just keep praying, relax. It's not that big of a deal. I know some people want to make it a big of a deal because some people is into this vengeance crazy stuff. And ugly is ugly, right? Dark is dark, right? So he's fine, and the circumstance with the other person and what they did and didn't do is all on camera, as far as I know, because the place had a lot of cameras. So, and they can't find the person, or they don't know where this other person are who made allegations about several people in his family, so forth and so on. So he should be fine with all that. We would know he will be because other people have been vindicated. They couldn't find the perpetrator and the person who said what they said. And you got to have proof. You can't just say stuff and there's no proof. But you need to keep an eye on that as well. Because you have people behind the scenes that think they're not being seen and that dirty hand is not being traced. We know what's going on, right? And I might not say everything, but I know a lot of stuff that's going on, y'all. So at the end of the day, be careful because people looking at you, looking at these people, they're looking at you too. So you never know who knows who. I'm going to keep saying that till I'm blue in the face, and I ain't going to be blue in the face. So hey, this is Keeping It Real with Dr. Lil. I just wanted to get on and talk about what I need to talk about, that all is good, all is well. A lot of the things that some of the people are saying in my chat, no problem. You can say whatever you want, free speech. It doesn't make it true. At the end of the day, as I said before, I am dealing with a fraud case, period. And there's no other stuff way around that. And that kind of stuff, sometimes people don't want to accept it. You can go ahead and talk about what you're going to talk about here and talk about there. I lived it. This is a 14-year journey. You don't come out 10, 12, 14 years later and start talking about something new. Where have you been? You know what I mean? It's just not acceptable. It's not believable. So people are not that gullible. So I just want you all to know you can have your free speech. You can get paid for your blogs and say nasty things about other Black people because that's what you do. And that's what it is. But at the end of the day, I'm going to say what I'm going to say too. And the public has a right to know through transparency certain things. And whatever I feel I want to say, I have freedom of speech to do so. Let's make it clear, everybody. And I'm going to give the courts, I'm going to give this person and that person and everybody person, the right to do whatever, because that's what I do. But at the end of the day, we're looking at a circumstance and situation as a country as a whole, as a system, and we want the system to work. That's all. We don't want people to be walked over and talked about and all this stuff. And God don't want it either. So keep watching, everybody, because God is good. Everything gonna be okay. Everything is okay now. It's more than okay. And anything that somebody tries to do that ain't from God, God's going to expose it. I ain't got to expose it. God going to do it. And all the documents and things that people were talking about our case, those documents have been in the community since 2012, exchanged by two attorneys, the plaintiff and the defendant's attorneys during that time. And then there's other people, parties of interest, who've taken files and gotten files and all this other kind of stuff throughout the years. Where have you been? Where have you been, everybody? So there's stuff out there in the state level and the federal court. I'll come back on next time. They were asking me about where some of the stuff was that we're things that we're doing and how to not just expose fraud, but stop it from in its tracks. That will be some of the other videos we're going to talk about for educational stuff. And I will continue to give educational videos because that's what people want. They need to be educated. Sometimes you hear from somebody else, you get it better or faster. It's no big deal. That we're all here to try to make each other better in the regards that we're supposed to try to make each other better. That's what I believe. So this is Keeping It Real with Dr. Lil. I don't want to stay on long. I don't like to do long-winded stuff. I just wanted to make sure you know that I know that you're around. I appreciate you. I thank you. And I just ask that you come and do our GoFundMe. Well, soon as we get to the place where we need to be with that, we have some good funders that came upon us. We're going to be doing most of those offline because they take out the taxes and all that stuff. Not taxes, they take out the fees. And some of the ones that have big donors, we don't want all the fees go out. So we're going to try to see how we can work with that. It's easy to do, but we're thankful that people are supporting us. We're trying to get 10,000 people to give $10 and then or more. And we have some people who gave a lot more. So continue to give to the fund and we will have transparency and show you what's going on. We think that the firm that we're going to hire is going to be fine. It's going to be excellent. Y'all going to love them. So, and we'll let them come out and tell you what they're doing, so forth and so on. So thank God for all of you. Be encouraged, walk by faith. Don't let anything or anybody stop you from your destiny, your purpose, or your plan. Because God has great things for you, whether people like it or not. And no matter what they say, they can say it 100 times. If it's a lie, it's a lie. If it's wrong, it's wrong. You can keep on saying it all night and day. Ain't gonna mean nothing. The devil is a liar, right? So we say what we say. So tell the truth and shame the devil. Tell the truth, y'all. So at the end of the day, we have God on our side and we have the law on our side. And we will walk this thing out until the law prevails. And justice will prevail if you don't give up. Thank you so much, everybody. This is Keeping It Real with Dr. Lil. Look forward to talking with you soon. Bye, everybody.